I ruined my family's life and I don't regret it. All names are changed. This all happened 10 years ago when I was 19. Around the holidays, I found out my then boyfriend Kevin was cheating on me with my older sister Jen. I was beyond devastated because Jen and I were really close and she was my role model. Not only that, but Kevin was honestly my first big love, so it was really crushing. Everything was made so much worse when my parents sided with Jen. She had always been a bit of the golden child, but my parents had never shown their favoritism to this extent. They kept telling me that these things happen, but family always forgives, and crap like that. It made me cry a lot, and I kept telling them that I couldn't forgive them. My dad told me to stop being so dramatic. My mom said I was a disappointment because she raised me better. Jen just said she was sorry, but she and Kevin really loved each other and they never meant to hurt me. I honestly just felt so alone and depressed and worthless. I was like a zombie for months. I mostly just slept and refused to talk to my sister. My parents kept telling me to move on because even if it hurt, Jen was still my sister and she was more important than some guy. Eventually, it was too much and I decided to end myself. I was so convinced that Kevin was the love of my life, and I just couldn't get over how he betrayed me, and how my family made me feel so alone and crazy. I wrote a very angry and depressing final note that talked about everything that had happened, and scheduled it to be published on my Tumblr after I died. Fortunately, my roommate/best friend Alice found me after I overdosed on pills. I was unconscious for a while before I woke up. Then I was put into hold because I was still very obviously self-ending and was considered a danger to myself. I was in there for a while and only had contact with my grandparents since they were the only ones I wanted to talk to at a time. When I finally got to go home, it was my grandparents who picked me up and took me to their house. They are the reason why I'm still here right now, and I love them more than anything in the world. They put me in therapy, got my medication, and were with me the whole time. I never asked about my family and they never told me anything either. At the time, I just assumed they were mad at me for being dramatic. Then I got the real story from Alice a month later. Her then girlfriend had been angry on my behalf and shared my Tumblr post on our Facebook. She even tagged my parents, Jen, and Kevin and called them out. Her then girlfriend was also one of those people who had over 1,000 friends, so the post got shared, and my family and Kevin were attacked by family, friends, and strangers. It was a crap show. A lot of people called Jenny whore, and my parents heartless monsters. My mom was ostracized by her church. My dad's friends stopped talking to him. A lot of Jen's friends were disgusted by her behavior and ditched her. Kevin got backlash too, because he lied to his super religious family that we had broken up amicably and said God guided him to Jen. My grandparents told my mom, their daughter, that she was dead to them for how much she and my family hurt me. They were the ones that forced my parents and Jen to back off and leave me alone, and to never contact me until I reached out to them. But I never did, because they were dead to me too. Jen and Kevin ended up breaking up after his parents sent him away to find Jesus again. I have no idea what became of him. Jen had to move to get away from everyone calling her a whore. I haven't spoken or even seen her in 10 years. Last I heard, she's got 3 kids from 2 different men and she's not with either of them. My parents became social outcasts and are now just homebodies. We rarely talk and it's all superficial. They missed my birthdays, my graduation, my engagement, and even my wedding. They won't be part of my child's life either. I know it hurts them. I tell people around me that I don't care about them or their feelings, which is true to an extent. But in reality, I'm glad. I'm glad they're hurting and suffering. I'm glad their lives suck and they're all unhappy. I shouldn't be, and I haven't told anyone, not even my therapist, how I actually feel about my family now. I know this is probably just my resentment and it's probably not healthy, but I can't help it. I almost ended myself over what they did, so it feels almost like karmic justice to see them hurting now. I even kind of hope they feel like how I've felt, alone and like no one cares about them. I'll tell my therapist one day, but I just wanted to say to the void for now. Now for the top comments. If destroying them gave you your sanity back, congratulations. Your grandparents sound great and loving. Spend as much time as you can with them. I'm glad you're enjoying life now. My grandparents are the best. I spend time with them as often as I can, and they've been a part of all my big milestones. You didn't ruin your family's life. They did that all on their own. I'm glad you have your grandparents in your corner. Your parents and sister, I can't even imagine how that must have felt. I'm glad you're at a better place in your life now, Opie. I wish you and your family the best. My grandparents have always been on my side. I'm lucky to have them. Sometimes, in regards to my immediate family, I want to ask if it was worth it. But thank you. I'm happier now than I've ever been. Your parents just didn't think you had a power to hurt their little perfect lives and went for the least resistance path. Let your ex be with your sister, otherwise, what would have other people thought? Well, you messed all of them up and showed them that you have the power to create your own path, and they had to put up with all their lies and crappy behavior. The best revenge is living a great life. Virtual hugs. Next story. My sister being abused by my ex-fiancé, but I don't care, and I won't be helping her. 5 years ago, my older sister Jess slept with my ex-fiancé John. It was one of those I've loved him for years situations for Jess, or so she claimed back then, so she took her shot to get with him, even as the mistress he hides away. And John? Well, he was mad back then because I didn't fight for our relationship. Suffice to say that when I found out they were screwing around, I mentally thought, wow, these people are pathetic. I had no intentions of fighting, arguing, begging, and never even cried now that I think about it. Even back then, I was a one-and-done kind of person. I cut my mother off for cheating on my dad. I cut off friends who cheated on their partners even when we were stupid kids. Cheating isn't a mistake. It takes me off thinking about it. Just crying and telling me, you have to understand, like I hadn't caught her screwing my fiancé in my bed in my condo. Or John yelling at me as saying, if you ever loved me, you'd fight for me, or cry for me, or do something. And then the most hilarious line of, maybe if you put out more, I wouldn't have strayed. And seriously, I was always the one initiating even before our engagement. And I had stopped bothering because he claimed his libido was lower than mine. I know for a fact that I'm a good lay, he just never wanted to put any effort in. And even if I hadn't been trying to have sex regularly, that is not an excuse to cheat. I tossed them out, packed up my crap, canceled everything but the honeymoon, and got refunds. I sent John's family their 25% contribution and security footage of John screwing my sister in the living room. It went back to the day he moved in, and the idiot probably forgot I had security cameras inside. And that was beyond petty, but despite how much his family loved me, I also knew that his doting father and grandmother would never believe John was capable of cheating on me without some kind of proof. I didn't need them harassing my family like they did others for lying about their family. I had also evicted John and then had an agent sell my condo while I turned my would-be honeymoon into a solo thank duck I'm free trip. And when I came back, I moved. Again, one and done kind of girl. Cheaters, liars, betrayers, and perverse jerks do not deserve forgiveness nor second chances. I learned that with my parents' situation. You give a second chance, they'll do it over and over again. Then scream, you said you forgave me, and I can't help it, it meant nothing, while victimizing themselves. It took my dad years to stop forgiving my mother, but I will never make that mistake. In 5 years, Jess and John got married because she was pregnant, moved into her apartment together, and now have 3 children, 4 male, 3 male, and newborn girl. They have no friends, no familial support beyond my mother. My dad is apparently involved with his grands but does not help financially, nor does he babysit or even let John into his house. I was visiting my dad when Jess showed up at his house in the middle of the night. She had her children with her, had a black eye, marks on her neck, and bruises on her arm. I was worried as my dad brought them all in. That worry disappeared the moment she said John got angry at her because I'm not Opie. She was blubbering about all the things John expected of her and how he essentially wanted her to be me, Little Miss Perfect, even though I'm the one that didn't want him. Dad tried to stop her multiple times, but I told her to keep going. Her tirade was how it should have been me he hated and hit, not her. That John lost his family because of me. They only have our mother as help because of me. That I didn't love him enough to fight or be with him no matter the circumstance like she did. That everything falling apart was on me, not her. And that she was sick of how I ran away and yet still managed to ruin her relationship with John. Even her wedding was all about how OP would have wanted this, and intimacy always ends with, sex with OP was better, you need to try harder. And apparently in Jess's eyes, John beating her for the first time was entirely on me. Wanna know why? Because her children look like our mother instead of me, who looks like my father. That even her children are treated like afterthoughts by John because he had hoped they'd get good genes. They only had another child because he wanted one to look like me, and that one doesn't either. And then, she said that maybe if I talked to John, things would get better for her. After all that, Dad pretty much told her that her kids will be staying with him, but she was on her own. Go to the police or your mother. Then she turns to me, begging me to convince him otherwise. Like, is she serious? You're in a situation of your own making. You're older than me, decided to screw a taken man, and then married him even after you claimed all he wanted was the woman that abandoned him. You're the one that was cut off from any viable support system by being an awful person. No one deserves to be mistreated, and I don't view it as karma, but Jess stopped being my sister the first time she slept with John. Someone that loves you would never show such blatant hate for you. That goes for both of them. Isn't it funny how once they get the dude, get married and have kids, it all falls apart? A relationship that starts as an affair is never truly healthy. They might stay together, but it is rarely a soulmate situation. By the way, if John was so into you, why didn't he fight for the relationship? By standards, at least back then, begging and arguing is how you fight for a relationship. He spent about 3 months doing and saying whatever to anyone dumb enough to listen, trying to get messages to me. And honestly, he got a lot of people cut off by me in the process. So beyond that, best way to keep a relationship is to not screw your partner over, or just break up with them. At least you can be cordial afterwards. I'd say that she wanted him and she got him. Congratulations. What a prize. Nope, it's not your mess to clean up. Exactly. She made her bed. Now she has to lie in it. Not your responsibility. Last story. I told on my mom's married boyfriend and ruined my life. My mother started having an affair with a married man, Bruce, over 10 years ago. My dad left her over it, but she stayed with Bruce with a promise of him divorcing his wife soon. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. After 10 plus years of knowing my mother was the other woman, and after stalking Bruce's wife's socials, I couldn't take it anymore. He's a creepy man that no one in my family can stand, including my 3 other siblings. We've been tasked all these years to keep her dirty secret and treat Bruce as if he's not an adulterer. I took one for the team and sent some anonymous emails out to some contacts I've found through social media. Bruce's wife responded to me and asked to speak, as she had no idea any of this was going on, which I highly suspected despite Bruce's lies all these years, so I sat down and phoned her. We talked for almost 3 hours. She's a nice woman who was nothing but kind to me. She's been married to Bruce for 30 years and had no idea he had a double life. His job allows him to travel frequently. I answered all her questions. During this convo though, I knew my relationship with my mother was over. I knew the details would get back to her and would pinpoint to me. Bruce's wife thanked me over and over and shared she would be divorcing Bruce once she got her finances in order. It was a very emotional conversation, and I'll never forget the sound of her cries as I told her all the details. The next day, I was completely cut off from my mother. I had no way of contacting her, and shortly after that, the harassment of members of my family came flooding in. Messages of disgust towards me and support towards my mother. Everyone turned on me and will no longer speak to me. I can't imagine she's telling them the truth of what I did. I told on her married boyfriend. I'm shocked my family has chosen her side and abandoned me. Sometimes regret washes over me, but in the end, all I did was speed up the inevitable. And I did it for my siblings who couldn't stand his presence anymore. I thought I would get rid of him, but it backfired. Not only are Bruce and my mother getting married, my siblings chose her side and have cut me off. This weighs heavy on my chest. It did for the last 10 years, and now because of what I did, it will continue. Thanks for reading and letting me get it out. Now for the comments. You did the right thing. Although you maybe should have anticipated this would speed up the process on Bruce and his wife getting a divorce. Your mother got what she wanted in the end, so she should be thanking you. For the best, though, she broke up your family by her selfish actions and chose a crappy man over her kids. You probably would have ended up going no contact with her anyways. True. Not sure why mom's so upset about this all being exposed. Like, girly, you've been with a married man for 10 plus years. Clearly you aren't that ashamed. Wait, why is she mad? If you didn't tell, the adulterer would still be married, and would it be marrying your mom? Shouldn't she be thanking you? Unless he never intended to marry your mom and even she knows this. Lol. I'm willing to bet mom is mad because Bruce stands to lose a lot of assets and will possibly have to pay alimony. Hard to say for sure, since we don't know the details of Bruce's marriage. But money's the only thing I can imagine being the reason he didn't leave his wife earlier, and why mom would be so mad. I'm no legal expert, but this is my best guess. Bingo. That's exactly it. Plus, most places, if you're married for longer than 10 years, it would guarantee the wife lifetime alimony as long as she doesn't remarry. Plus, the fact that if she's smart and hires a forensic accountant, any money spent on your mom and family in the last decade is considered marital property and she's entitled to half of it. So if he bought your mom a house, cars, whatever, they will be forced to sell. And or he'll have to pony up that amount during the divorce proceedings. Plus, if they have children together still at home, that's also child support. Dude basically stands to lose everything, and no doubt I wouldn't be surprised if the change in lifestyle causes your mom to look for another suitor. Did it really ruin your life though? I mean, if members of your family are harassing you and supporting your mother because you told your mom's boyfriend's wife that he's been cheating on her for the last 10 years with your mom, then I think that there are trash people who aren't worth your time. You aren't wrong. It's just hard to have everyone hate me so abruptly. Edit. Thank you to all the supportive comments. I have a few people in my corner rooting for me, but these comments have been comforting and therapeutic. The number of family that turned on me, I truly started to worry I was the problem and made a mistake. To answer some questions, money is a huge factor in all of this, which is why my mother/siblings are so angry and not thanking me. I am my mother's oldest daughter. Only my youngest siblings lives with her. We are all adults. I have 2 young children my mother has thrown to the curb for Bruce. They will never know who she is. I am in contact with a wife. She is a lovely woman who is aware of how this unfolded and has been so kind to me. I like to think in another life we would be friends. I've spent a lot of time putting together proof for her so she can get what she deserves out of the divorce. Keeping in touch with the wife angered Bruce and my mother, so much so they told my family I was harassing the wife. That fueled the fire more for my family to hate me. To the few that have commented I should have minded my own business, I wish this never was my business. What a laugh.